Hi, today we're going to talk about the skill number 12 that has to do on how to build self-organizing skills in the employees. This is part of the empowerment, the last part, the E of the Care Leadership Program. And this particular skill has to do on how to help employees take the power that will give them when we're trying to empower them. And the way we're going to help these employees is by building self-organizing skills. So let's see what it means. You may wonder how companies like Starbucks or Chick-fil-A do to deal with very young employees. Usually they hire young employees that are not experienced. How do they make to help them serve better, to work better? Well, most of these employees in the past, when they started hiring, in the case of Starbucks, they were not able to get on time, they forgot receipts, or they would yell at angry customers. These young employees didn't know how to manage specific things. They had procedures for basic things such as cooking, but they didn't know how to deal with the specific problems. So no matter how many procedures the company had, they were not enough for these inexperienced employees. So Starbucks realized that they were having the same type of issues even when things that they could enjoy doing. So they started studying these employees and they realized that when they were trying to go to the gym or see friends or practice in sports, they always lack the self-discipline to continue doing this in a good way. Sometimes they were yelling at friends because they couldn't manage their emotions, or sometimes they were late. In many cases, they were not able to study for a long time, and that's what the main reason why they were working there and they were not going to university. They realized that they were lacking self-organization, the skill that allowed them to follow a routine and respect it through time. So this was able to occur not only at work but also at home. And if a worker knows how to remain focused and disciplined, even at the end of an 8-hour shift, they would be able to deliver the high class of fast food service ever. What they needed to do, they needed to create a routine. If every employee follows that routine, that becomes the culture of the company. And that would help the employee strengthen their muscle of self-discipline. Basically, what Starbucks had to do was not just train them on the specific task of the work, but to make them practice the self-discipline muscle. And the way to do it was to practice and practice and practice again and again and again certain habits. Self-organization doesn't happen only in teams of people, but it also happens in nature. When a school of fish move from one place to the other all together, or just like birds do, this means that they are not following a leader. They are following some rules that are defined by the team. And this is the same thing that Starbucks tried to accomplish in their groups. This is very different to what most companies do nowadays. Usually companies, as I said in the very beginning of the course, start communicating from the top down and expect people just to take orders and do what is needed. The problem is when there's something different, when there's a limitation, employees cannot react fast because they don't make decisions on their own. So the good thing about self-organizations is that employees are sensors. They sense the environment. They are trained to sense the environment so they can react more quickly to whatever change is in the environment. So what the fish are trained to do is not to listen to just one leader, but they look around, they pay attention, remember they aim for attention, and they see what other fish are doing. And that's the way they react faster. Your role as a leader is to generate this environment where the interactions among all the members are easy so that they have to connect only with you, they can connect with all their team members at the same time and see how they can help each other. Self-organization is actually like a muscle, is whatever you repeat and repeat and repeat again, 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 the same routine, then you basically do it naturally. It's part of your daily habits. So this is just like making your bed. If you do one day and then you do it another day and then the third day you do it, you just wake up and just do the bed. And that's a way for you to self-organize your time. You're already doing something good. You're adding a value to your day. Most of our bad habits are due to laziness because we lack the self-organization muscle. We do it once and then the second time we just find a limitation and we don't want to do it again. So it doesn't have to do with talent or with intelligence. Really, self-organization is something that you can achieve and makes you achieve better academic performance than intellectual talent. All you have to do is consistency to keep trying. And when true self-organization is happening, people understand exactly what is expected of them and they have the ability to do what they think is best to get that done. A way to understand it and see if your team is currently self-organized is to realize that if your employees are respecting the company rules even when nobody is looking. And the best way to prove this is when things are remotely. Nobody is looking at them. So if you are not checking up on them every single day, are they doing their work or not? Maybe they still don't have the self-discipline to wake up early whenever they don't have to travel. They just have to go to their desk and start working. Do they have that self-discipline or to avoid doing other things during the day instead of working? It's very important that an employees can manage their time, whatever they are at work or whatever they are at home, because that's how they will be able to accomplish results without you looking at them every minute. The call centers, for example, promote empowerment by avoiding scripts in the call center and allowing employees to decide how many hours per week they will work. They decide the amount of hours, but they have to commit to those hours. This policy allows to hire employees for remote locations that they can work. Maybe some want to work in the morning, some prefer to work in the afternoons, some prefer to work all day, and even you can hire students or people with disabilities because you are more flexible. Self-organization is really a blessing when employees are working remotely. And this has been proved. There is a study that shows that companies that are more agile and have self-organizing teams have been able to adapt more easily and faster to working remotely than other companies that were not using agile teams. So let's see how our self-organizing teams. They are usually small teams from 7 to 12 employees. They are very transparent. They are autonomous. They do quick decisions on budget, on hiring, on customer feedback. They are allowed to make those decisions. Then they are cross-functional. They have people from different backgrounds in the same team, and they are very disciplined on what needs to be done. They are not expecting a leader to tell them what to do. The leader just coordinates the work, but they know how to get it done and when to ask for help. And the last part is that they own something. They own a task, they own maybe a product, or they own a section in the company. This is very important to help them define their own rules for that part they own. The size of the team is crucial because it has to do with the number of communication channels that are required to get work done. you have only two people, the communication channel is easy from one to the other, but you don't have that many ideas. If you have 5 people, then you may have 5 different skills. You may have an accountant, you may have a designer, then you may have a marketer, you may have an operator, and then someone from finance. So you have different points of view altogether, and they have clear channels to communicate. Then if you have already 12 people trying to communicate to each other, then the communication is much more difficult. Imagine how would be the communication if you have 20 people. Remember that in self-organization, you have to make sure everyone can look at each other and can see what each other are doing. They just don't go to the leader, they go to the other team members. There is a phrase that says large ships turn slowly, and the same is true for the large important projects and initiatives. If there are projects that have like 30 or 40 people working together, it's very difficult to make changes, it's very difficult to make decisions. So what you can do is divide this big project into small chunks, in small teams who can handle small portions of task and can have, like for example, the Scrum team that we talked about before, and have a small sprint of 1 week and define what's the goal of that sprint. Whenever we can make bigger things, make them into smaller chunks, we are able to better manage that. And imagine when you have to go remotely or when you had to make sudden changes that impact how the workflow is done. Being a small team is the best option to be more flexible and agile to what happens in the environment. Just like if you were in a sprint, you have to commit to one micro change. You can define a micro change during the week or a micro change a day. It's up to whatever the team is working on, but you just have to create a potentially shippable product increment in every sprint or in every portion of time that you decide. I try to talk about a week because it's easy. So try to set a goal that you will achieve during that week. If we can train employees to do that, that's a way to train their self-discipline muscle. How this cycle works. First, you work on doing a micro step for that week. Then you try to make it seamless. So you eliminate all the limitations, all the problems or barriers you may have to accomplish it. And then you repeat. Then you keep repeating and repeating and repeating. As you make it seamless, and more seamless through time, you're better able to repeat it. So the micro step through time will be able to stick. And that's how you achieve self-organization. Then it's like riding a bike. You won't even think about what you're doing. You will keep working that way. You will keep waking up early, making the bed, washing your teeth, and going to work. On your leadership side, it's crucial that you provide training for people to be able to make these macro changes because not everyone is ready or not everyone is used to this type of discipline. Just like what happened with Michael Phelps, he was a swimmer, one of the best medalists in the US, the greatest Olympian swimmer, had 28 medals. Now, at the very beginning, he had some trouble winning competitions because he lacked self-discipline. So what he did is he was practicing every day, not only whenever he was doing it physically swimming, but also in his head. He was remembering all the time how he had to swim and how many movements of the arms he had to do and how many movements of the feet he had to do. That way, whenever he had an issue, he was able to solve it. Then he also practiced swimming with the eyes closed or without an arm. So in case he had any issue, he was ready for that. And one day he had an issue. Actually, his goggles started to leak and he was not able to see, but he kept swimming. He already know by heart how he had to swim, how many movements he had to do, and he was able to earn a gold medal that time. He really set a record, even not being able to swim. So that's the importance of training and repetition. You have to build these habits. You have to define what are the habits that your team needs to build, and you have to make it repeat every single day. The good thing about habits is that it helps us avoid making conscious decisions all the time. There are some things that are already part of your routine and you don't have to think about it. Imagine Phelps that he starts thinking, oh, I'm in a Olympic medal competition. What am I going to do? No, if he just forgets about that and just he keep playing his video in his head, it's much easier for him to develop his task. So this is the same with your daily task. When you have to don't have to think about them, you just do them. It's much easier, and it helps you to become more effective because you just have to focus on the things that matter the most to you and that are more difficult. Just the same way I mentioned, like Mark Zuckerberg was always wearing the same clothes, just to avoid thinking about that. The same way, whenever you have a routine that you can practice and you keep adding extra steps to that routine, that will be much better. So it doesn't mean that you have to build your entire day and do the same thing every single day and do it from day one. No, maybe day one you just build 5 minutes of your routine. Maybe next week you add 5 more minutes. During that week, you keep practicing those 5 extra minutes, and then you keep adding them. Through time, you will have an entire routine that helps you become better at what you like doing best. Of course, that like habits can be good and can be bad, like eating too much, drinking too much, or spending too much time thinking about something that you did wrong. So what you as a leader have to do is help your team get and work on the good habits and try to avoid the bad habits. Find something that replace them so that they can keep on working on the good things. And this will help them not only in their life at work, but also in their life with their families, to behave better with their kids, to respond better to their emotions, and to feel happier many times a day. A tool that I use a lot to build self-organization in teams, even if they are remotely, is 5S, which is a culture, a set of habits that drive individual productivity and team self-organization through a lean workplace. You get rid of waste and barriers that you find in your workplace or could be in the office, could be in a manufacturing place, or could be in your home office. You also learn to prioritize work and you learn to standardize best practices through these team routines so that you're more effective through time. And you're not only the one being more effective, but your team is also effective. Why? Because the most important part of 5S is that you work on transforming your environment. And this is how you do it. You have 5 steps in 5S, which are sort, store, shine, standardize, and self-organize. These steps are also in Japanese because this is a Japanese tool. And you get from a place where you have a lot of things that you don't need, a lot of waste that is just disturbing your site and creating barriers for you to accomplish your work. Imagine that you have to work in that workbench where it is full of trash. How would you do it? So what you do is you sort the things that you don't need, you store, you get a right place for the things that you really need. Shine means cleaning, make sure that everything that you need is in good condition. Then you standardize the way to work, the best practice so that you're not the only one doing it. You have pictures, you have labels so that everyone knows how things need to be done. And then all you have to do is practicing, practicing, and practicing through time. That helps you to self-organize. And if all your team members do the same stare that you are doing here, they sort, they store, they shun, they standardize, and they self-organize the small portion, the part that they own in the company, then the entire team will be able to work better together. If you want to learn more about 5S, you can read the book 5S Your Life that I just published, and you will be able to see how you can implement it not only at work but also at your house. Now, to finish the module, I would like you to work on two exercises, one team exercise and an individual exercise. The team exercise have to do with seeing how people just by talking can become barriers in a team, and how you talk, you can also become someone that can help the team succeed. So the first part of the exercise, you will have person A suggesting doing something with person B, who has to answer with a reason not to do it, starting with yes, but. Person A responds with a counter suggestion also saying yes, but. For example, let's go to the grocery store. Then person B says yes, but our refrigerator is broken. So it's always bringing problems, or always saying, no, this cannot be done. Then on the second exercise, what we will do is person A makes the suggestions, but now person B will answer yes and. For example, let's go to the grocery store, and person B says yes, and let's get avocados. And person A says again yes, and let's make guacamole. So you all build up on each other. Imagine how a team would work if you have a lot of uh, examples, one working with you that always says but, and imagine how it would be if you have all people working on the two mindset, yes and yes and yes and. You would be able to accomplish much more together. Okay, so choose a team member that you can work on with this. It can be face to face, could be remotely, or it can be on the phone. It's very easy. Then the next exercise had to do with checking your workplace and how you can improve it. Fill in the list with the items that you don't need. Check if you have extra pens that you don't need. Check if you have documentation that you could have stored, or check if you have things that you can just trash. Then identify if you have items that you need but you cannot find easily. Maybe you don't have them close to you. Maybe they are in another room, or maybe they are in another office, or maybe there's no way for you to find them online. So try to find out what are those things that you need to have more close to you. And then once you have figured out all these things that maybe are barriers for you because you don't find them, or because they are there and you don't need them, commit to a micro change this week that helps you to get that in order. Maybe you can commit to every time you finish doing something, you just store it, or maybe every time you sign a document, you store it in a folder, or maybe whenever you finish a can of soda, you just trash it away, you don't leave it on your desk. So think about something that you can improve. It doesn't have to be something very complex, it can be something very small. Write it down, and if you can, keep adding one micro change every week, and you will start improving your routine. Excellent. Thank you very much. To finalize this module, let's look at the summary. And these are the main learnings. The first one is that you have to improve your delegation skills. How you feel about trusting your team members, about delegating tasks, about not checking in all the time. Then focus on how to build a self-organizing team. Think about your team and what are the differences with what we have been discussing and how you can improve it. And then try to facilitate and define team routines to make them easier to interact. Once you review all these things in the presentation, take a time to reflect and write down 3 highlights of this module. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy this module. This is the end of the Care Leadership Program. I hope you really enjoyed. You have done a great job if you got to here. Just let me know if you have any questions. This is my email address, my social media where you can find as Luciana Police or Lu Police, or you can go to thewillculture.com. Thewillculture.com, or if you have already downloaded the app, The Will Culture, you can find more information on Scrum, on innovation, on leadership, or on the method 5S. If you want more information on 5S, you can also get access to my book, 5S Your Life, when you will learn more about stop procrastination and start self-organization in your team. I hope you really enjoy. Thank you very much and see you in the next video. Bye bye.